Now let's talk about the new concept of lag. Lag is the amount of time by which a success activity may be delayed. Lags can be used all for logic relationships that we already discussed. Finish start, start to start, finish to finish, and start to finish logic relationships. This is one concept how we can use the lags properly. For a concrete job, typically we have place concrete, cure concrete, and remove forms. So instead of having a cure concrete as an activity with the duration only, we can also convert cure concrete into a lag. We can just link place concrete and remove forms together, and in between we include a lag by the amount of days for curing. That's a way of using lag. Next, we are going to include talking about lags applied towards finish to finish and start to start logic relationship. This one, footing and backfilling. Backfilling is dependent on the completion of a footing plus 1 day lag. What this is saying is backfilling must be finished at least 1 day after the completion of the footing. Then this one is applied on start to start logic with the 2 days of lag. Installing mark is dependent on the start of paving. So what this is saying, installing mark starts 2 days after the start of paving. All right, so the most jobs are done concurrently, but installation of marking is going to be 2 days behind the start of your paving. Lead is also called a negative lag. If you try to label leads in a schedule, you just need to change the number as a negative number. So that's why we call it lead is a negative lag. Lead is that a successor activity starts before the predecessor activity has finished and start. So that is a successor activity starts before the predecessor activity has started or finished. So typically we use the lead on finish to start and start to start logic relationships. Now let's take a look at a few examples. Footing backfill, and then the successor activity is a plank beam. So in between there's a 1 day lead, and plank beam can start 1 day before the completion of the footing backfill. Now let's talk about the lags and lead included in the schedule. How should we calculate CPM schedule? We're going to talk about those formulas, but when you actually do the calculation, you don't have to rely on those formulas, and you still should be able to do the calculation. But I still want to kind of discuss, and we are going to focus on activity J. So we are going to calculate the early start, early finish, late start, late finish of activity J. So for activity J, the early start is early finish of the activity I plus the lag over here, lag ij. And the early finish of the activity J is early start of your activity J plus the duration of J. Late start of J is late finish of J minus the duration, working backward. Late finish of J is the late start of your activity K minus the lag. Moving backward, we're going to use the minus calculation. And the CPM calculation with the start to start logic relations with the lags, we're going to focus on J again. Early start of activity J is early start of your activity I plus the lag. Alright, so this is the start side, so we're going to use the start of your activity I plus the lag ij. Early finish is going to be pretty simple. We are going to use this early start of activity J plus the duration. For the late start of your activity J is the late start of your activity K, since this is linked to the start side, the late start of your activity K minus the lag. Going backward, we are going to do a minus. The late finish of your activity J is the late start J plus the duration. And the formula for finish to finish logic relationship with the lags, and we're going to focus on the activity J again. So early start of activity J is the early finish of your activity J minus the duration. Right? So in order to get the early finish of the duration, we have to use the early finish of I plus the lag to get the early finish of J, early finish of J minus the duration. So that's how we got this equation. So the early finish of J is early start of your I plus the lag, which is this portion. The late start of J is the late finish of K minus the lag. And since we are trying to get the start date, we have to get our minus duration as well. So the late finish of J is late finish of K minus the lag Ij. That's a formula for the CPM schedule calculation with different logics and lags and leads. So even though I didn't really include leads, but leads is just basically the negative lag number, and the equation are exactly the same.